Today, we're tackling one of the biggest, most fundamental anxieties of being human. The fear that we're running out of time. It's the feeling that fuels our bucket lists, our midlife crises, and that low-key panic that sets in on a Sunday night. We are obsessed with the idea that life is short, but what if that's a complete lie? What if the whole premise is wrong? What if the problem isn't that our time is short, but that we are, to put it bluntly, absolute masters of wasting it? This isn't some new age productivity hack. This is a hard-hitting truth from one of the baddest Stoics to ever walk the earth, Seneca. He was a man who had it all: wealth, power, fame, and saw firsthand how the most privileged people in the world could squander their lives on utter nonsense. He laid out the problem and the solution in his killer essay, On the Shortness of Life. And his diagnosis is even more relevant today than it was 2,000 years ago. Let's be real. We are all living for a future that doesn't exist. We have a collective cultural obsession with someday. Someday I'll travel. Someday I'll learn that instrument. Someday I'll write that book. Someday I'll finally get in shape. Someday, when I have more time, more money, when the kids are grown, when I retire, then my real life will begin. Our entire lives become a training camp, a dress rehearsal, for a future performance that never gets staged. We are preppers for a life we forget to actually launch. We fill our calendars with obligations we hate, scroll through feeds that make us feel inadequate, and binge-watch shows we won't remember in a week, all while telling ourselves that the real stuff is coming later. And then we have the audacity to complain that life is too short. Seneca heard this same complaint in the bustling streets of Rome, and his response was a brutal, philosophical slap in the face. He tells us that it is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it. This is a game-changing reframe. The problem is not the quantity of time we are given. The problem is the quality of how we use it. Seneca argues that nature has been generous. We are given a lifespan that is more than long enough to achieve the greatest things. If only we would invest it wisely. He uses a killer analogy. Imagine being given a vast fortune, and you spend it all on cheap trinkets, bad bets, and people who don't care about you. Then, when you're broke, you complain that the fortune was too small. No, you were just a terrible investor. Time, Seneca says, is our greatest fortune, and most of us are terrible investors. He calls the people who waste their lives the preoccupied. And his list of the preoccupied is a savage takedown of modern life. I'm going to update his categories for the 21st century. See if you recognize anyone. First, there are those lost to mindless consumption. For Seneca, it was men who spent all day at the gladiator games. For us, it's the person who loses entire weekends to a Netflix binge, or who spends 3 hours a day in the hypnotic, dopamine-fueled trance of a TikTok scroll. Their time is stolen by algorithms designed to capture their attention, and they give it away willingly. Then there are those consumed by performative busyness. In Rome, it was the socialites who ran from one dinner party to another, not for connection, but to be seen. Today, it's the person whose calendar is packed with pointless meetings, who answers emails at 10 p.m. to show how hard-working they are, who confuses activity with accomplishment. They are busy, but they are not living. Then, and this one stings, there are those who live for other people. The people pleasers, the ones consumed by their own reputation, who spend all their time worrying about what others think. For Seneca, this was the worst kind of slavery. Today, it's the person whose self-worth is tied to the number of likes on their latest post. They are not living their own life. They are living in a desperate audition for the approval of an audience that, for the most part, isn't even paying attention. All of these people, Seneca says, are preoccupied. They are not present in their own lives. They are allowing their most precious, non-renewable resource, their time, to be squandered. And that brings us to the core mechanism of this great waste. How do we squander so much time without even noticing? Seneca nails it with a second, devastatingly simple observation. He says that while we wait for life, life passes. This is the diagnosis for the disease of someday. We live in a perpetual waiting mode. We are waiting for the weekend. We are waiting for our vacation. We are waiting to graduate. We are waiting to get married. We are waiting to retire. We treat the present moment not as life itself, but as an obstacle to be overcome on the way to the real life that starts in the future. The ancient Greeks had two words for time. The first is chronos. This is the time we are all familiar with, chronological time, the ticking of the clock, the marching of the calendar. It's quantitative. Our society is obsessed with chronos. We schedule it, we manage it, we try to optimize it. But there was another word for time, kairos. This means something different. It means the right moment, the opportune moment, the qualitative experience of time. It's the deep, immersive experience of the present. It's the moment of creative flow, the deep conversation, the feeling of the sun on your skin. Kairos is where life is actually experienced. Seneca's warning is that we are so focused on managing our chronos for a future payoff that we completely miss the kairos that is happening right now. While we are arranging the minutes and hours of our future, the rich, vibrant, and only reality of the present is slipping through our fingers, unnoticed. Think of the classic modern tragedy, the person who works a soul-crushing job for 40 years, sacrificing their health, their relationships, and their passions, all for the dream of a perfect retirement. They are waiting for their real life to begin at 65. They finally get there. They have the money. They have the time. But their body is old. Their energy is gone. Their spouse is a near stranger. And they've forgotten who they are outside of their job title. They waited for life. And in the process, life passed them by. They saved up all their time for a party that was already over. So, what's the solution? How do we stop being preoccupied waiters and start being active participants in our own lives? Seneca's advice is both simple and radical. First, you must conduct an audit, a ruthless, honest audit of your time. Seneca says we should tally up our days as a miser tallies up his coins. At the end of the day, look back and ask, where did my time go? How many hours were given to my job? How many to mindless scrolling? How many to worrying about the future? How many to obligations I secretly hate? And how many hours were given to what truly matters to me? To my mind? To my health? To my loved ones? To my own character? This audit is often a brutal wake-up call. You are the CEO of your own life, and you need to see where your company's most valuable asset is being spent. Second, you have to define what living actually means to you. If you stop waiting, what are you going to do? For a Stoic, this isn't about hedonism. It's not just carpe diem in the sense of partying and instant gratification. It's about living with purpose and virtue in the present moment. It means engaging your mind, studying philosophy, having deep conversations, appreciating nature, working on your own character. It's about replacing passive consumption with active, virtuous engagement. You can't stop wasting time until you know what a worthy investment of time looks like for you. And finally, you must practice being present. This is the core skill. It's the active work of pulling your mind back from its endless travels into the past and the future. Create a habit of checking in with yourself. When you're eating a meal, just eat the meal. When you're walking, just walk. When you're with a friend, be with that friend. Not half present while thinking about your to-do list. At any random moment, just ask yourself, am I fully here right now? This is a microdose of mindfulness, a Stoic reset button that pulls you out of the fantasy of the future and back into the reality of your life. Life is not short. That is the good news. The bad news is that it is finite. and we are professional-grade wasters of it. The greatest tragedy is not to die, but to arrive at the end of your life and realize you never really lived at all. You were just waiting. The antidote to the fear of a short life is not to wish for more time. It is to waste less of the time you have. It is to understand that your life is not a future event. Your life is now, this moment, this breath. This is it. Remember Seneca's diagnosis and his warning. It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it. And we waste it because while we wait for life, life passes. Stop waiting. Your life is happening right now. Thank you for joining us at the Inner Citadel. If this was the wake-up call you needed, hit that like button and subscribe for more tools to build a life of purpose. We'll see you next time.